Welcome back, everyone. On today's video, we're just going to do a couple of quick things. I'm just showing you how you can do a couple of things at the same time. I'm going to do a carrot ginger soup, and then I'm also going to do the pumpkin cheesecake, protein cheesecakes. And I'll cook those up while we're working on the soup. So the soup is really nice, and it's a blended soup, so it's really filling and it's really nice and warm. It's cold here right now, and so I'm feeling and craving those like comforting filling things that are just going to kind of warm me from the inside out. And then the protein cheesecake is a real favorite. I've done it in a larger video, but I thought I would just break it down and do it in a quick one so that you could watch it and see how quick and easy it is and how delicious it is. You're really going to enjoy having that one as a treat. And you can even justify it as breakfast if you really want to. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do, as always, I'm going to preheat my oven. It takes forever to heat up. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then we're going to go ahead and start on the soup and get things going, and we'll work on the cheesecake as that is cooking. So if you want to grab your cutting board, we're going to start. It's a really simple, easy. I'm going to cook it up in my pressure cooker. So let me grab that as well. So I'm going to throw everything into the pressure cooker here, and then I can get it to cook. It cooks really fast. I like everything to just get really, really overcooked, really, really soft, tender, because we're just going to throw it in the blender and blend it all together anyway. So you just want it to cook and do its thing. It's not nothing that needs to be baby. So I'm going to give that a good little spray. Okay, of some non-stick cooking spray. Then we're going to grab the things out of the fridge that we need. So I have some fresh carrots, grab an onion. I'm going to grab my ginger, fresh ginger as well. And then I'm also going to grab my chicken stock. Okay, so I have some chicken stock here. So like I said, this is really simple, really easy to throw together. And it's a super impressive, yummy one. So I love to use the carrots that are still have the tops on. The freshest carrots, the sweetest carrots that you can find in your grocery store. The quality of carrots is really going to make for a better soup. So the better the quality of the carrots, the happier you'll be with how the soup turns out. If you can get them from like the farmer's market, that's even better. So I'm just going to cut the tops off of these really quickly. And then we're also just going to wash them up. Okay, so take these ones all out. Cut the tops off, and then run them under the water at the sink there. Okay, just set those to the side. Whoops. These down. So I have 3 big bunches here. Like I said, I'm just going to quickly wash these at the sink. I'm not actually going to peel these. Okay, like I said, it's all getting blended together. I don't really mind the carrot peels, and they're not really going to make a huge difference in the recipe. So I'm just going to give those a quick rinse. You're welcome to use the little mini carrots that come in the bags already like washed and peeled. But my experience is that those aren't particularly flavorful. They're kind of a little bit lacking in flavor. So I'm just going to really coarsely chop these just into a couple of inch long pieces. And like I said, the pressure cooker is just going to cook all of these like right. So they don't need to be carefully, don't all need to be exactly the same size. We're just going to coarsely cut them and throw them into the pot. Okay. I am going to cut those little tops off. Put those to the side. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm going to do the same thing with with my onion. Okay, I'm not going to be particularly careful about dicing it down really small. Again, we're just going to blend this all together. So this is a really easy one to put together because the chopping doesn't really take very long. We're just coarsely cutting up the onion as well. Okay, so throw that into my pot. And I'm going to take my garlic, or not my garlic, my ginger. Let's take some ginger. And I'm gonna just quickly peel that. Okay, I just like to peel it with a paring knife. Just kind of get that rough brown exterior off. I love fresh ginger. It has a lot of flavor to this soup. So I have a knob here that's probably about 2 inches long, 3 inches long, and just going to cut off all the brown peel, and then again I'm just going to coarsely cut that into about 4 pieces here, and just throw that into my pot. Okay, now that's all gone down in there, and I'm going to take some water and I'm going to cover all the vegetables. Okay, I'm just going to fill it with water until it's covering those vegetables. So the water is covering the vegetables. I would say there's probably about 5, maybe 6 cups of water in there. And I'm going to add some chicken stock at this point. I'm not going to add what I would consider to be too much. So usually about per cup, you want like 1 rounded teaspoon per cup. And I'm not going to add all of that now because it's hard to take out the salt if you add too much of the salty flavor. But it's a little bit easier to add afterwards. So I'll just put a little bit of chicken stock in there so that it can kind of flavor things as it cooks. But I'm just going to wait until after it's all done and taste it and season at the very end of that point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that onto my stove. I'm just going to clean up the area here. I'm going to put the lid on once it kind of starts to boil. That will help me to kind of time how long I'm letting everything cook in that pressure cooker a little bit better. I'll put the lid on and start the timing process once I know that it's all boiling together in there. So just going to clean my area up, throw all my bits away into the garbage, and get ready to work on that cheesecake. Okay, we'll set them to the side, let that back for the time being. My area a little nice. So we're just set those off to the side, lid, and to grab stuff for my cheesecake. Okay, so this cheesecake is going to be made in a blender. So we're going to blend all the ingredients together in the blender, and then we will pour it into our baking dishes. So I'm going to grab my blending cup, and I'm going to get all of the ingredients that I need. So I need some protein powder, I need some cottage cheese, I need some canned pumpkin, a couple of eggs, some Splenda, and then a few spices. So we're going to put some pumpkin pie spice in there. We're also going to add some vanilla. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab those things. Also going to grab that cooking spray, just because we're going to have to spray those dishes. Okay, I'll get the vanilla out of there. Then we're going to need pumpkin pie spice. Okay, so let's grab the eggs, pumpkin, and the cottage cheese. My eggs. Okay, so we have our ingredients, and I'm just going to go ahead and start throwing them. So I'm going to start with 3 scoops of vanilla protein powder. Okay, and then I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of my pumpkin. Okay, so again, this is like always, I've used pumpkin in a lot of my recipes. Um, it is canned pumpkin. It's not the like pumpkin pie filling that you can get. It's just pureed pumpkin. Okay, so I'm just gonna measure that out and throw that down into our blending cup. Okay, so again, that's 3/4 of a cup of our pumpkin. Then we're gonna add 2 eggs to that. A little bit of vanilla, about half a teaspoon of vanilla. I just use the cap to measure that. We're going to add half a teaspoon of our pumpkin pie spice. I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball that. Okay, there wasn't very much left in the container anyway. And then I'm going to throw in my cottage cheese. We need 2 cups of cottage cheese, and I use the 1% or the low fat cottage cheese. Pour it all out. Okay, so there's 1 cup. Second cup. It's going to grab slow that. Hi. Oh, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of Splenda. So I'm just going to put the lid on there and I'm just going to go ahead and blend this all down until it's all good and mixed. Okay. So hopefully this isn't too loud for you. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape it down, push it all down with the plunger a little bit. Okay, so that's all nice and blended now. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my baking dishes. So I have some little Pyrex dishes. They're probably about 3 inches in diameter, 3 or 4 inches in diameter. And I'm going to use 5 of them to divide this cookie into 5. I'm also just going to grab a baking dish to put those dishes on top of. so it makes them easier to get in and out. Okay, so those are going to need to be sprayed so that the cheesecakes don't stick. Let's give them a good spray. And I'm just going to go ahead and divide that pretty evenly amongst my dishes. Okay, so it's just kind of like I would guess, like a thick pancake batter, I guess is what we're looking at there. Start to divide that evenly into those dishes. So just like to eyeball it. I'm not going to get too worked up about it. Just looking to fill them to approximately the same depth in each cup. Okay. I have to kind of scrape out as much as I can. A bit more to each. Okay, so I'm going to throw those into the oven. Like I said, they're 350 degrees, and I'm going to let you know when I come back exactly how long they take, because they can vary a little bit. So we're going to throw those into the oven at 350 degrees. I keep an eye on them. So my soup has yet to come to a boil yet. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for that to boil. I'm going to put my lid on and pressure cook that. And then we'll meet back here to tell you what the next steps are. Cheesecakes have been cooking for about 25 minutes. Probably need about another 4 or 5 minutes. So we're looking about 30 minutes of cooking time for those cheesecakes. And the soup has been boiling for just about as long. So I'm going to prep a couple of things that we're going to add for the soup. We'll give it just a couple more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and show you how to put that all together. So I'm going to grab something that I love to work with in the kitchen. This is a powdered coconut milk, which you just kind of add water to and rehydrate. I love that it gives stuff a really creamy flavor, and I love just kind of that little touch of coconut. So it works really well in this soup. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a dish. I'm going to mix that about a cup of that. So depending on what kind of, this one calls for about a half a cup of powder, and then just top it off with the rest of water. And I'm just going to mix that with a spoon. Okay, so put that into my dish. Just add some water from the sink here. Just mixing about 1 cup of coconut milk to throw into that. You can use canned if you want. I like this because I feel like I always have it on hand, and it's just super easy to kind of throw in. So I'm gonna add that when those carrots are done. And I'm just gonna grab one other thing that's gonna be our garnish out of the fridge. Okay, so this soup is super yummy if you garnish it with a little bit of cilantro. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a little handful of our cilantro here and go ahead and slice that up real fine. So I'm gonna cut those stems off. We'll set them off to the side. Give this a good fine chop. Should be ready to get that soup put all together. Okay, so I love the fresh taste that cilantro adds to everything, and it helps to make it look really pretty as well. And appetizing, have a little garnish on top. Okay, so what I'm going to do with my pressure cooker is I'm going to take it and I need to cool it down. before I go ahead and take that lid off. So I'm just gonna run some hot water over top of that until we get the valve to kind of drop down. And then I'll take it out and show you what we're gonna do with that. So the valve is gone ahead and drop down. So I'm going to open that up. Set that lid to the side. We're just going to go ahead and grab a nice ladle. And again, that's that blender cup that we have. So I'm going to leave most of the liquid in the pot here. And I'm just going to try and scoop out the ginger, the carrots, and the onions. So we're going to go ahead and blend those down. So I'll scoop a bunch of those in. And then we'll just add a little bit of liquid as needed. Okay. So these are all super well cooked. Everything's super mushy, ready to just be blended. I'm trying to put every last little one out. Okay, so you need to be super careful with this because everything is really hot in here. Oh, there's the timer on those cheesecakes. So I'm going to give those a check before we go ahead and blend this down. I want to make sure that the centers of our cheesecakes are kind of set. We don't want them to be super jiggly. I don't want them to be super dry either because you want a little bit of moistness to your cheesecake. But I'm just going to have a look and see how those are doing. Okay, they actually look like they're perfectly ready to go. Okay, so I'll set those on here and give you a look. They really rise up. They're all nice and puffy. They kind of puff up quite a bit. They will settle as we cool them. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm actually going to go ahead and set them outside. Okay, I have a patio door right here, and I can just set them outside. That'll kind of speed the cooling, and they're going to drop quite a bit, but they should be really nice and moist on the inside. So what we want to do with these cheesecakes is we want to let them cool completely. That's really important in order for it to kind of have that texture of the cheesecake. And I actually usually say probably not to eat them until the next day. So I'm going to cool them down outside. Then I'm going to throw them into the fridge and probably just going to let them cool overnight. That's the way to get the best consistency out of these in order for them to taste most like cheesecake. Okay, so while those are cooling, I'm going to go ahead and work on this soup. I'm going to add that coconut milk down into that blender. I'm going to give this a little bit of a mush down, okay? Just kind of get things started. So you really want to be very careful not to overfill your blender on this process, okay? And you want to start the blender really slow. You don't want this hot stuff to come bubbling out over top of this. That can really burn pretty badly, okay? So we're just gonna put that lid on, make sure that blender starts really slow, and I'm gonna give this a blend. So you can see that didn't take very long. That's all nice and blended down. Slide this out of the way. So at this point, you actually can start to taste it and to season it. Okay, remember we talked about not putting too much of the chicken stock in the beginning. Most of the liquid I've left honestly to the side there, and I can use it. You can use it to thin this down if you want it to be thinner, or you can leave it as thick or as thin as you want. So I'm actually super happy with the flavor of how that's turned out. And I think I'm actually pretty happy with the consistency. I don't really want it to be too watery. I plan on eating this with some of the salads that I've made for this week, so that for lunch I can have soup and salad. And this is really, there's a good ginger flavor to this. It's about the right consistency, so I'm going to go ahead and just pour that into some container. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill up those containers. You can see the color just stayed really nice and bright. Ladle again. Okay. So I really love the ginger flavor. It's super strong. I can smell it from these dishes. There's a little bit of creaminess from that coconut milk, but not too much overpowering. So I just have that equally into about 4 dishes. And for some garnish on this, I'm going to throw some of my chopped cilantro, but I'm also going to grab my pepper grinder and add a little bit of pepper to this. Okay, so I'll throw some of that cilantro on top just to make it super appetizing when we come to eat this throughout our week here. So we have that cilantro thrown on top there. And then I'm actually just going to put a little bit of cracked pepper in as well. Hey, so there we go. Quick and easy carrot ginger soup. I hope that you enjoy this. I know it doesn't have protein in it. We don't really look to add some protein in here, but I feel like this is a good one to have on those cold days when you're looking for something that's kind of low cal, that's going to fill you up, and you can feel really good about eating a huge serving of vegetables in this soup when you go and have it. So I will include some pictures of the cheesecakes. Once they've all cooled down, you'll see how they drop and kind of get a little bit wrinkly on top, and we'll set those in the fridge overnight. We'll let this cool on the counter here before we put our lids on and set that in the fridge as well. But I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you try these recipes and let me know what you think. And again, just happy eating, everyone.